So, boom, I'm Jalisa, and this is how I finished law school with ADHD. And it took me 9 years, but never the case. Let's move forward. It took me 9 years to finish law school because I was working three jobs. I had a baby. I took time off. I failed classes. I spent most of that time not even knowing that I had ADHD. I got the diagnosis after I graduated. My goal was never to be like the best student in the building. When you set your expectations to be perfect, things don't get done because it wasn't gonna be perfect. There was no way to make it perfect. So my goal was to leave that building, those buildings, because it was multiple schools, well, two schools, and with a degree. That was my goal, to leave the school with a degree. And I did that. You feel me? Now I got to work on the next goal. We'll talk about that later. That's something else. But right now, we're talking about how it passed. I chose Miles Law School first, and then I transferred to Birmingham School of Law. They're part time schools, unaccredited. So basically, you could only practice within the state with an unaccredited degree after you pass the bar, right? So cool. That's fine with me. I don't plan on going nowhere and practicing anywhere else anyway, so that's fine. But I didn't want to spend a lot of money on law school, go into a big amount of debt. I didn't want to not work, not be able to support myself, and have to go to school full time. So those courses were part time from 6 to 9, a few days, maybe 2 or 3 days a class out of the week, or you could take all of your classes on Saturday, depending on what you preferred. But the traditional daytime schooling wasn't gonna work. Going off to school at that time wasn't gonna work. I started in 2014 or 2015, and I didn't graduate until 2024. What I should have done was make sure that I prepared properly because I honestly just hopped into it. So making sure that I had a schedule that fit law school where I could have time to study, have time to put a system in place, and have time to focus. Didn't do that. Okay, so boom. Number two, I got one scholarship throughout my entire law school journey. I applied twice. The first time I got it, I didn't think that I was gonna get it, and the only reason I got it, it was like a hardship scholarship. Like, what are you going through, and how bad is life? When I tell you, I poured my poverty-stricken life into that essay. I had to get it. Not even I had to get it, but like I think something was wrong with my car. I was working three jobs. Most of my money was going to tuition. I didn't have shit. Okay, I didn't have anything. Okay, I was fucked up. Okay, so when I tell you I deserved that essay, that scholarship based on that essay, yeah. Tuition. Let's say tuition was like 22,000. Let's say tuition was like 2,000 a semester, right? Times of 9 years. You do the math. I ain't good at math. That's why I went to law school. Anyway, and you still got to pay for books, bills, then food, then gas, then yeah. I was broke. I was broke as hell. You hear me? Um, but I was able to still go to class. I was still able to go to work and make sure that I was paying my stuff off. You hear me? Um, I think a few times I used my 401k. I used the hardship loan. Scholarship, took one semester off, needed it. You hear me? Um, yeah, other than that, out of pocket. But what I should have done was made a real plan, a real budget. Then when I threw in like daycare fees and all that stuff, and oh my gosh, emergencies that would happen, car issues that would happen. When I tell you I was in another realm of stress, I didn't question whether I could afford it. I didn't question it. Impulse. I just hopped in and said, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to make it work. I did. It wasn't ideal, but I did. So, boom, I was working 3 jobs. I worked at a law office for an insurance company. I was a legal assistant. That was like from 8 or 9 to like 4:30, 5 o'clock. All right, boom. The next job was at a restaurant as a server. That was from 5 o'clock. So as soon as I got off, I think the shift started while I was still at the other job sometimes. Anyway, that was from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Boom. After that, I was working at a club. So that was from 9 o'clock to usually like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So boom. Some days I would go to the law office, then go to school, then go to the club. Or I would go to the law office, go to the restaurant, go to the club, and then the next day I would throw school in there. So the priority was the law office, and then the priority was the club. I was there damn near every day it was open. And then the restaurant was like my play money, honestly. The tips were really what were doing it for me. So I would like take that money, put it to the tuition and stuff, or I would take that money, put it to my little gas, my little day-to-day money. But my main source was my law office, my full-time job, my salary job, to making sure that everything got paid. So handling all of that, and just imagine, when do I study? When do I sleep? When do I brief my cases? Deadlines for everything. Everybody's still expecting me to show up, do my job, be present, be happy, and have my briefs, be able to brief my case accurately. And I feel like if I would have known some strategy or some points to say, okay, this is something I can cut off. This is something I got to get rid of. This is something I can save for. This is something I should have saved for. I should have planned for this better. And I didn't. And because I had so much going on, law school got put on the back burner. My briefs got put on the back burner. Studying got put on the back burner. So I was in law school, but I was doing everything else and treating it as a priority so I could be in law school. And I didn't have a plan. I was just in survival mode, honestly. So I'm just figuring it out, figuring it out. So I can be here, so I can get this done, even though this isn't my focus. And the fact that I still finished and passed isn't a good thing, right? Because now everything that I did in law school, I can't do that for the bar exam. I can't survive and have the will to get through to pass the bar. So boom, I failed classes. If I can find my transcript, I'm gonna pull it up and I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna show y'all my transcript. If I can pull it up, I gotta figure out how to get to it. And no matter how many times I failed, I took the class over. What I failed, I think I failed contracts. I know I failed con law at least 2 times. I failed a lot of stuff. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that. I failed a lot of stuff. And it was mainly because I wasn't studying. I couldn't pay attention. I would be in lecture, actively listening, and my mind would go somewhere else. So by the time he's done with this case, I'm in Mexico somewhere trying to figure out how passports became the official permission slip to get in and out. Like, who thought of that? It'd be one word that'll trigger me and take my mind somewhere else. And then I have to figure out what just happened in lecture, what I just took in my notes. But the crazy thing, I'll still be typing everything he's saying. I'm still trying to type it. I'm reading along. I'm trying to keep up. I'm still going. My body's still going. My body is still moving, doing student stuff. But my mind is somewhere else. And I wish I would have got the evaluation earlier so I can have the medication that was probably necessary, therapy, um, the academic accommodations that I didn't even. I think I tried to set up tutoring once or twice, but I didn't have the follow through. And I feel like that was the ADHD stuff too. I didn't have the follow through, and I didn't have the mindset to have accountability or an accountability partner or the doubling. Like if I would have known some of these ADHD tactics and tools, I could have applied them. So boom. Then I took time off. I took a lot of time off. Sometimes I would take us one semester because I didn't have the money, right? Or I would take a semester because I think one time I took maybe 3 semesters off when I got pregnant. And I was pregnant once COVID started as well. So I was able to take the Zoom classes then. Then I had my baby that next semester. I took that semester off. And then the semester after that, I took that one off just to get adjusted, just to see would I be able to keep up. I was barely keeping up without a baby. You hear me? I was barely keeping up with just me. And then the next semester, after I had my son, I think I took that one off as well. And then that following January, I think I went back. And I'm glad that I took that time, but I'm more glad or pat on my back to myself for actually going back. You feel me? Because that could have been it. That could have been it for real. I'm not even playing. And even though it was interrupted, like my education timeline was interrupted, I needed that break. So just because it's a 3 year I think it's a 3 year program. Just because it's a 3 year program and it took me 2 schools and 9 years to finish, I'm not mad at that. I can't be mad at that because I know everything that went on during that timeline and the fact that I still did it. You hear me? So, but I would say that breaks should be strategic. I feel as if you decide, what you need to change before you return, before you get back. You come back with like a real strategy, a real plan, how you gonna handle it, how you gonna come back better, how you're going to create a system that works for you, a schedule that works for you, a timeline that works for you, a return date that works for you, and set new goals instead of taking a break and doing nothing in between that. So instead of just taking a break, I should have been preparing. I should have been getting my stuff together. So once I hop into this, I'm focused. I'm on it. But so boom, I had my baby in the midst of law school. Okay, so after I had him, after I went back to school, finding someone to watch him while I went to class, finding someone to help and watch him while I was studying or doing my homework. My husband was there. Um, at the time, we were married and together. He was right there with me. While I'm reading, while I'm studying, he was right here on side of me. COVID was in 2020. So I was pregnant, still doing the classes. So 2021, I think I was back in class, and I remember there was times where I was like, dang, I ain't got nobody to watch him. What am I going to do? I cannot take a baby into law school. There was times I thought about it, times I was going, I tried my best not to miss class. I think we could miss like 3 a semester. I would use two. I would always use two. You hear me? I would always use two. But for the most part, I tried to make sure I always went to class. If I don't do nothing else, I'm gonna make sure I go to class. At least I can get that point. You feel me? I need all the points I can get. But I think scheduling wise, having a village, having help and resources when you have kids, having a support system or being with somebody who understands what you're doing, understands what you're up against and how hard it is. And then the whole postpartum thing, that's a whole nother situation. And if you're having relationship problems or relationship woes, like that's another problem in itself. And if you're a single parent or a married single parent or married with a man that's just in his own little world, you hear me? It's gonna make it even harder. So you can plan for that stuff, but you can't plan for that stuff. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like it is what it is. So my only advice would be to create systems and stick to it. If you say you're going to study for 20 minutes while the baby sleep and then you take a nap, cool. Do what you can. If you say you're going to wake up an hour or two before you know the baby wake up and go ahead and finish your homework for that night, do what you can. Do what you can. But don't sit here and just think that everybody's going to be on board. Everybody's going to be available to help you. You're going to be able to go to class every day. Because what if you babysit? What if your babysitter calls out? Then what you going to do? It's on you. It's all on you. And I feel like it's a difference in genders. I'm going to just stick to genders. I'm not going to even get into race. Going to law school based on your race is one thing, but based on your gender, if you're the primary caretaker and you're trying to go to law school, that's another video. We'll talk about that later. So boom, I think I relied too much on pressure for my dopamine, right? Like a lot of my work happened because the pressure was on. The deadlines were on. Everything was last minute for me. Like nothing was planned, nothing was thought out. If you gave me an assignment on January the 1st and told me it was due on January the 31st, around January the 27th, is when I would start looking at it, when I would remember it, when the urgency would come back, when I would even remember that, oh snap, this is due. And then the closer I got to the date, I'm in. We got a test. You tell me about it at the beginning of the year. I'm going to wait till maybe a week and a half before the exam is due. And then I'm going to lock in and I'm going to read. And I'm study and I'm gonna memorize. That's all I could do. That's all I was able to do throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the semester. I couldn't focus. I couldn't. There was no urgency. There was no dopamine. There was no reason for me to feel as if the pressure was on. I got time. Ain't nobody making me do it. This all on me. Nobody's making you do anything in law school. One thing that they teach you is you need to teach yourself the material and come to class prepared for the lecture. The professor basically isn't there to teach you. They're just here to go over the material, basically. You got a few questions, cool. But I'm not here to teach you what you can read and figure out yourself. That's on you now. You feel me? So, what I should have done was got a diagnosis and understood what my issues and my problems were. Studied with a study group or a study partner. Like I was very standoffish in school, but the people that I was cool with, like I tried the study group stuff and it turned into a powwow. Like me and my homegirl Dora We was in there running door. We was in there running our mouth. You hear me? Running my mouth. She was in there telling me stuff. I'm in there flabbergasted. And it went from there. And then I said, let's go to this park where they doing this rally at. We're supposed to be studying. I got us 2 blocks down the street at Lynn Park at this festival when we supposed to be studying con law. That's how impulsive and ADHD was real. Okay, 100% real. But that should have been like a reward. Like, okay, after we get through studying for an hour, boom, let's go to this festival. That's what I should have done. Rewarded myself after the fact. Did things after the fact. Enjoyed myself after the fact. I was so tired and stressed out sometimes. I just felt like anything that came along that was going to give me some release from this insanity that I'm putting myself through, I took it. I needed that stimulation and I needed to get out of that realm of stress. So I should have rewarded myself after I completed something. That's one thing I learned. So boom, my literal one and only goal was to graduate. I wasn't thinking about becoming an attorney. I mean, of course, but I wasn't thinking about becoming an attorney. I wasn't thinking about passing the bar. I wasn't thinking about becoming a valedictorian. I wasn't thinking about mock trial, any of that. The only thing I said I was going to do is finish, graduate, and I know that's probably not the way that I should have looked at it, but that was all the capacity I had in me to do. I felt like finishing was hard as hell in itself with all I had going on in my mind, let alone all I had going on in my life. And if I would have tried to be perfect and get all A's, and I would have, I don't know. I don't know how I could have even done that without losing my mind, honestly. Or becoming a hermit, or cutting everybody off completely. And honestly, if you're that type of person, I feel like that's what you should do. Cut everything and everybody off and sit within yourself or in your office or in your room or in your whatever and complete that goal. Whatever that goal is, I feel like if that's how you can get it done, I feel like that's the easiest way. If you're that type of person, I couldn't be that type of person. My people didn't understand what I was going through. They didn't understand that I couldn't be on the phone. They didn't understand that I didn't have time to go nowhere. They didn't understand that I don't have time to lay up. They didn't understand that I can't take care of my baby the way that I'm supposed to take care of my baby. They didn't understand that I couldn't pay these bills and work and study and do my homework and make A's and pass this class and go to this next job and graduate on time, no issues. So I had to separate time of finishing in 3 years. I had to separate success of being the top person in my class or the smartest in my class. Those people were fucking geniuses. Not even geniuses in the literal sense of genius. Some of them were maybe. But I'm starting from imagine Lean on Me in Harvard. I'm coming from the school they had it Lean on Me with people that came from the high school or the college. You feel me? That was my comparison, right? So the fact that I'm even in the same room with y'all, the fact that I'm even in the same building with y'all, I can't look at y'all. I can't compare myself to y'all. We ain't come from the same shit. Yeah, we not on the same level. Y'all been through other shit. Y'all done experienced other shit. Y'all been taught other shit that I haven't. So everything that I'm doing is because of me. Not because somebody put this into me, not because somebody showed me this, not because I was prepared or I had a mentor or none of that. All this is me. And I'm taking on all this other stuff. I don't know how y'all lives set up. Can't focus on that. Can't care. Not my business. Not my issue. Not my problem. Not my concern. I gotta stay on this road. I gotta stay on this path. And even though it took me 9 years, it don't erase the degree. You feel me? Failing the classes doesn't erase the degree. If I go past this bar and become an attorney, ain't nobody gonna say, let me see your transcript, what school you went to, what high school you went to, what ain't nobody finna, it don't matter. I'm in the same room with you. I'm in the same courtroom with y'all. I'm pulling the same cases y'all can. You feel me? So that's all that matter. I finished. So my real advice of finishing law school without an ADHD diagnosis, get evaluated early. If you know you can't focus, you know you can't pay attention, you know you reading a book, you on page 3, by the time you get to page 6, you been somewhere else completely. You're still reading. You're still flipping pages. But that last page and a half, you can't tell. You don't know what they just said. You don't know what you just read because your mind was somewhere else. Get evaluated early. Get treatment. Get therapy. Prescribe whatever you need, whatever systems that can be put in place. Request accommodations for the bar as well, but request accommodations for law school. So if you need extra time on your test, just make it clear and make it known. Get the diagnosis. Build the systems. Set the clear early deadlines. Just get the stuff out the way early. Clear early deadlines. Find accountability, an accountability partner, or a person to double with you. That's another video. And stop trying to design your life to fit a regular person's life or schedule or mind or brain, basically. And when they say like neurotypical or neurodivergent, our lives are totally different in that aspect. And even though we have to keep up with the neurotypical lifestyle, it's certain ways that we have to do it in order to be successful, in order to be less stressed, in order to be less overstimulated, and figuring out those tactics early on beforehand is 10 times better than going through the struggle and finding out after the fact. When you see something's wrong and you know you need help, get on Google, say, what can I do? Get on ChatGPT and say, what can I do for these issues, these problems, these symptoms, this concentration? I can't focus. I can't study. I can't do this. I have to pass. I have to woo, woo, woo. And it's going to tell you exactly what to do in your state, where to go to, who to call, what's the setup, how much it's going to cost. Or you can call the facilities that they're going to have listed, the processes, the time it's going to take for testing, and the time you're going to get your results back. And we'll talk about the disability process as well for ADHD. We'll get to that. But yeah, my path was slow, my path was messy, my path was tiring, completely different from most people, I believe. But I can't say that it was just impossible, because I did that. So in my mind, I gotta feel like I could pass the bar too. And I can't trip about how long it might take me to do that. Look how long it took me to do this. I really can't even trip. So that's why I gotta put these systems in place so that I can focus to do it. And I'm actively saying this to y'all while I'm still a mess. hmm While I'm actively still figuring out those systems. So this ain't no I got it all together. Matter of fact, y'all on the journey with me now to see if I can actually do the shit. Y'all didn't see the law school journey. Y'all didn't see that. I should have filmed it. Y'all didn't see that. Y'all about to see this bar prep, exam, attorney, goal. Y'all finna see this. Y'all finna see this. So boom. Comment the goal that you're working towards, and or if you did something and it took you longer than expected or it took you longer than the next person, put that down there too. We want to know. I want to know. And I want to know how you got through it, what systems you put in place. If you're diagnosed with ADHD, if you think you got it and you just ain't been tested yet, let me know. Let me know.